perfect.
Sounds good.
All right. So, hey, welcome, Redskins Addicts. This is your host, Rod. I just want to give a shout out to Lawrence, Ellie, setting this up, and want to thank our special guest. We got Anthony Armstrong joining the podcast this evening. Oh yeah.
That's right.
So listeners, a lesson in perseverance follows. So Anthony, and he's Mr. Armstrong 13 on Twitter. He graduated from West Texas A&M in 2005. Played a few seasons in the Intense Football League and Arena Football League, and he finally made his trip to the NFL. He was on the Dolphins practice squad in 2008, and then he spent 10 weeks on the Redskins practice squad in 2009. And then finally, in 2010, Anthony, you emerged as a 27-year-old rookie of sorts. You became a primary deep threat for McNabb and Grossman. And truly, I'm not saying this just facetiously, you are one of my favorite Redskins memories when you hit that Dougie versus the Packers, man. And I watched the throwback YouTube video a little bit earlier today, so it's that's a good memory. It always makes me smile.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, by the way. That clip makes me smile. And I realized like that's coming up on literally 10 years ago.
Crazy, man.
And it feels like just yesterday. I feel like I could do half of that stuff. I probably might pull one or two muscles, but I could still at least get down the field.
How old are you right now?
I'm 37, man.
I'm 42. I used to dunk at 37. I tried the other day. I sound like a transformer when I hit the ground, like
nope.
Everything was snap, crackle, and popping like they put a blow of milk on my head.
No, thank you.
Worse.
Now, reeling it back in, so I'm going to refer to us as the Redskins, the Washington football teams quite often. But so Washington football team fans, when we look at your numbers, Anthony, like your numbers were similar, and even in some instances, they were better than the youthful young wide receiver that we're all hopeful will be impactful for us the next years to come, and that's Terry McLaurin. So my question for you, Anthony, is your time with the Redskins, it was limited to 2 seasons. I want to ask you, do you have any regrets on your NFL journey? Is there anything you would have done differently? And is there any advice to players that you give still catching their dreams?
Oh, man. How long is this segment?
As long as you want to be, brother. We're here for you, man.
If we doing that, I mean, we could be here for a while. But, I mean, let's start up in the very beginning. The regrets, absolutely none, zero. Like you said, the way that I got there, I mean, what am I going to regret? You know what I'm saying? I went D2. I was barely recruited out of high school. Like, I wasn't supposed to get to the league. Like, are you kidding me? Went and played ball for $200 in Odessa, Texas for a season, right? Skip a week to go do a tryout for an Arena 2 team, and I run a 4.2. I ran 2 of them there. And then people started turning their heads. Hell, it turned my head. I had never ran that fast before. I just was fast. So yeah, you run a couple 4.2s, you start turning heads, you start seeing things manifest and come out the way that you had wanted them to. I had no regrets at all. Now I will say, what would I change? Whenever it was the off season, I was off. I would take off. But I mean, my body was tired. You know what I mean? And you see kids now, these dudes stay in cleats. That's where they like run routes just every single day. And it's like, it's good to sharpen your tool and make sure you're on point. But I think there is a time where you got to be able to step away here and there. So I would probably have trained a little bit more in the off season. Not saying I was just lazy. Now don't y'all get to thinking I did nothing, but I think I would have done a little bit more. That's all. Would have spent a little bit more time just doing it a little bit more. What else? Advice, man, save your money. First and foremost, save your money, count your ducats. What Marshawn say, count your chickens. You really want to save your money. You know, all the stuff that looks appealing to you, you know, you're going to buy what you want to buy, but at least make sure you tuck something away because the game isn't long. I'm blessed to be able to have gotten invested, you know what I mean? So being able to do that and have benefits after the game is huge, but most people don't even get there. So save your money is number one. Take it serious, number two, because you only got so long when you're there.
Hey, appreciate the feedback and the answers, man. It means a lot. Now, I'm going to pass the mic to Steve. I know Steve's got a good question for you. So, Steve, that's on you, brother.
Hey, Anthony, how you doing? Thanks for taking the time to join us, man. Big fan. In 2010, you know, that was my first – I was in the military. That was the first time I got to actually use the family season tickets. And and you brought us some good memories that year. I just want to say thank you for what you did for the Burgundy and Gold, man.
Oh man, I appreciate it.
And you know, what I really would love to know from you is how does one go from being a NFL wide receiver to transitioning to a well-renowned real estate agent? Like, what is that transition like, and why was that the path you took into real estate? I'm just curious how that went for you.
Man, I got caught watching all them flipping shows on TV, and I initially wanted to be a teacher, right? I was like, I'm a coach, I'm a teach. I got friends that do it, and they were like, yeah, if you get a math certification, you have a job forever, work where you want to. I got these flashcards, and I got them. I think I still got them up there. The first one I opened up said trigonometry. I have never taken trigonometry. I was like, this ain't gonna be good. I can't. I said, nix that.
When you run a 4.2, you don't have to learn trigonometry. You know?
Right.
Nope.
Okay. I know the
straight line.
The fastest point, is a straight line. The Pythagorean theorem, right? All that stuff. A squared, B squared. But you get me. So I nixed that, and I said I'll be a real estate investor. As I studied that more, I learned. I was like, I might as well just get my license, and then I can figure out contractors and learn everything along the way. But really now I really get to teach and coach people. You get folks that come in that are completely green, have no clue about buying a house. And then you walk them through that. And I mean, it's a big milestone in people's lives. So, I don't know. It's definitely not related, but they mentioned how competitive real estate is. And I'm like, man, I've been up against Charles Woodson, D. Hall, London Fletcher, Ray Lewis. Like, I'm not worried about the little old lady at Ebby Halliday. I'm not worried about her, so
small potatoes.
You just kind of, I will say the systematic side of it transitions, being able to go through adversity, being able to know what you got to do step by step every single day, that will transition. But outside of that, two different worlds, man. Two different worlds, Steve.
Yeah, that's what's up. And I got one more question for you, sir. And I hope I'm the first person to ask you this. And if not, okay. So 2010, Detroit Lions. You guys are having a good game. Brandon Banks has a 75-yard punt return called back from a touchdown. He had a 90-yard kickoff return. You have 3 catches, 92 yards. You had a 50-yarder from Donovan. 2-minute drill. I have to ask, what were you and the rest of the team thinking when Coach Shanahan pulled Donovan for Rex Grossman for that 2-minute drill where there was a chance to win that game? So I just really want to know what was in the mind of the number one wide receiver at the time when you saw that happen, when you saw Sexy Rexy walk out on that field.
Damn, I remember the game. Very clearly. Like you said, I had a few big plays, and I was closing in on my first 100-yard game. And that's one of them ones where you make a catch and you peek up and you try to see what the stats look like, right? You're like, where am I at right quick? You start seeing the fantasy leaders go by, right? And it's like Victor Cruz, he got 115. You're like, all right, man, I got 92. I'm almost there. Like, I'm going to be on the list. When they made the switch, like, for me, I was focused. I was kind of like you've written to switch a quarterback right now, but we still had a job to go do. You know what I mean? And that whole time I'm looking like, bro, I need 8 yards. Can you give me 8 yards, please? Let me get this 100. Like, let's go win the game. But I really wanted that 8 yards. And I'll be real, man. I was a guy that I was like, I'm lucky to be on a team.
Yeah.
I'm not finna complain. Like, I felt like I was 53 the whole time. I could be starting on every position. I still feel like I'm going to get cut. So I was like, shoot, I don't know what 5 did, but here come Rex. All right, Rex, you got to throw the rock. So I don't know. That was a weird situation. That was a weird game all the way around.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all the questions that I have, man. I just want to say thank you. I'll turn it back over to Rod.
Yeah. So I know Phil's probably filming. He's also driving right now as well. But Phil, I'm gonna pass the mic to you, brother. Let you ask a question.
Appreciate it, and thanks for joining us today, Anthony. And unlike these guys, my favorite memory from your career was in 2011 when you caught that game winner against Seattle.
Yeah.
You know, that was a rough season, but that one had me jumping off the couch like crazy. But
Yeah, that was
my
a
question,
crazy game.
it was insane. And actually, my question does come from the 2011 season, because that was a year where there was a lot of quarterback controversy as well. You know, you had Rex Grossman was coming in. You know, he looked pretty good the last couple games of the previous season. And all of a sudden we start hearing about this kid, John Beck. And let me ask you this. When you make a quarterback switch like that and you go with someone who's not nearly as proven in the league and switch them at quarterback, what goes through your mind in that process? I mean, I know like you said, you have a job to do, and you're just happy to be there, and you're like, look, I want to be productive no matter what. But
Yeah.
you know, do you feel like you have to prepare differently for a quarterback like John Beck that comes in, especially because, let's face it, he didn't have the best time at quarterback. So
Yeah.
do you feel like that you have to prepare differently, or do you feel like, you know, does anybody go to the coach and say, you sure we want to roll with this guy? You know, we've been humming along pretty good with Rex here. We were at, 3-1 at one point earlier that year.
Shoot, man, switching over to Beck it caught you off guard. Because, I mean, first off, they're two different quarterbacks. Like, Rex has this gunslinger mentality. He'd give you this look. Like, that's what happened in Seattle. He gave me this look, and I knew he was finna throw me the ball. Like, it didn't matter if there was 12 people over there. He was going to throw me that rock. And he's done that plenty of times before. So you start to get that chemistry. Then you change quarterbacks. And, like, he didn't see things the same that Rex saw them. And I'm a guy that I like to look at the offense. I started to get to the point to where I would know which way the ball should go. Just based on coverage, based off reads, I was like, okay, this is 1, 2, 3. Okay, based on this coverage, I'm getting the rock in this scenario. But then that wouldn't happen, and it would throw you off. And I mean, it was frustrating. It was frustrating to deal with, just because like the offense wasn't working the way that you were supposed to go. The ball was going in different places. But like you said, you got to deal with it. Obviously, yeah, it sucked. We sucked at that point. We sucked. It wasn't good at all. Wasn't any continuity. Didn't have any – like, it was – I mean, yeah, let's be real. We sucked. And that didn't help. That didn't help trying to change people in the middle. Hey, you deal with it. We live through it. You live and you learn, right? You live and you learn.
Well, let me follow that up. I've always kind of wondered how this works at the pro level, you know, especially because that wide receiver room, you know, you had some established guys like Santana and young guys like you who are newer to the league. Does there come a point where you go to the coach and say, we feel more comfortable with Rex? Or do you just say it's up to coach, you know? Or is there come a point where the receivers, the guys who are having to catch the ball from this quarterback, just say, look, we could operate better with a different quarterback? You know, how does that conversation take place?
I mean, shoot, different people got different levels of clout. Okay, so my conversation may have been to the position coach, being like, "Hey, man, come on, we like this guy over this guy," and that's and that happens. And you try to trickle that stuff up as far as you can, but there's other hands in the pot that you got to deal with sometimes, man. But trust me, people up in the league, they're not afraid to at least mention, like, hey, man, we like this guy over this guy. You know, it's the way that the game gets played. It's the way that it gets flowed. Like, I'm sure that if y'all just switched up who hosts the show, it's going to have a different feel to it. You know what I'm saying? Not that it's going to be worse or better.
Absolutely. No, I'm joking, man.
No, but you for real, like, it has a different vibe to it. And
yeah.
I've always been a guy that I'm like, I want it to be consistent. I know what we're getting. He reads it the same way. We're all speaking the same language. That's what I wanted.
Right.
I appreciate that, man.
How do you think that team would have handled all the social messages that's going on in sports today?
How do I think that
even with
team?
the things, even with the things, you know, how they are now with the Washington football team? How do you think that team would have handled it? Would that coach have handled it like coach they have now?
Man, honestly, I think that would have been it would have been interesting for real. Because, I mean, I think there would have been some players that would have, would have stood up. Like, I think Lorenzo Alexander,
Right.
I think a Kedrick Golston, would have been very vocal. I think there would have been, definitely would have had some team meetings. We'd have had to have some conversations, behind closed doors to just kind of voice some concerns. But I think that it initially would have been a pretty big split. I think it would have had to been. You wouldn't have had no choice.
Do you think the players back then would have survived with the way social media pretty much shows everything? Because I'm sure you guys will get like laughing and making jokes. Like, you can't make any more that squad you guys had.
Man, I mean, honestly, like when people talk about like locker room jokes and stuff, it's really not that much going on like that. You know what I mean? Like, boys, if you with your boys gonna joke. Boys, your homeboys joke, but it's not like as crazy as people make it seem.
Right.
I don't think there would have been anybody that would have been overtly trying to cross the line or trying to piss people off. I don't think that anybody would have been that bold. I think we would have come up with some form of unity and move forward with that. Because I mean, honestly, that team was a cool team. I don't think everybody like mixed. I think there's so many different personalities. There's like 50 some odd different players. It's almost, you can't expect everybody to mix together, but sometimes you feel like other teams have had better continuity. I wish we had a little bit more continuity. I love my teams when I was in Washington. I love
who had the best touchdown dances out of all y'all though?
That was me. Ain't no other way.
The Dougie was.
He taught us how to
hard,
Dougie, baby. Come on.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, mind you, and
That's right.
mind you, this is it's Lil Will, my Dougie. Okay, it's Lil Will. One L. That's the one. He's from Dallas. That's the guy who made the first dance. The Cali Swag District came after the fact.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it's a little history lesson in all this thing. I did Dougie, the first Dougie on national TV. It was when I was with the Desperados, and we played Atlanta. It was whack. It was sorry. It was not good. I will admit that, but it got better.
We need to make sure John Wall gets that message.
Different levels to the Dougie.
Yeah, the first one I did wasn't very good. The one by the time I had it in Green Bay, on point. That was beautiful. That was a work of art right there.
So, Anthony, speaking of history, I see you have a Albert Einstein picture on the wall behind you. I believe that's Albert Einstein, right?
Yeah, that's him.
And the one thing I want to say in that regard is I think people sleep on how much Albert Einstein did for black scientists in his day. Albert Einstein was largely against racism in that period. He spent a lot of time with black scientists and physicists in that period and did a lot for him. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but
yeah, there was an image going around. I saw an image on the internet when he was like teaching a class of.
Oh yeah, you got to look into that. He really went out of his way to denounce racism a lot. But for you, man, like, did you find yourself like during your time in Washington, like the amount of joy that people that don't play football assume football players have when they're playing? Mm-hmm. Did you find yourself having that joy, or was it kind of like a job to you, or both, or what?
Man, it's when everything is like just rolling and you like the practice and the camaraderie with the team and like the locker room, that stuff is fun. Like, you don't get that anywhere else in the world, right? Once it gets down to like the last two cuts in practice in training camp, that's when it's a job. Like, the person that you battling with and that's been your boy for the past 3 months, y'all learn the playbook together. Now, hey, I want you to do well, but I don't want you to do that good. I want you to catch the pass, but don't score the touchdown. Let me get it's a weird dynamic. And frankly, I don't think a lot of people will be able to handle it just because, and I'm not trying to sit here and say I'm like better, they're tougher than anybody, but it's such an odd dynamic that the same people that you're grinding with are the same people that you're trying to take their spot. Right. So it's very difficult. It's very difficult to deal with. Frankly, I kind of forgot the original question.
No, I think that is good enough. And I think for us, we never played the game. We never came close to playing. I think most of us kind of tapped out at high school and whatnot. The work that you
played in college, man. Put some respect on my name.
My bad. You did. I forgot. the work that you put in, I think you talked about this in the beginning, carries over to your career now. Are there other things that when you look back at your career, you take with you in just other areas of your life, like lessons that you learned from that you take into, your everyday life?
Man, it's kind of like whenever your parents have told you something for years and you don't realize it until later, and you're like, oh yeah, that's what they say. That makes a lot of sense. It's kind of that same thing. Like it really took me a while when I got done playing, I fought against being in a consistent system of doing this regimentally every single time. I didn't want to do that anymore. I was living in my mama's house with an apartment in Florida and a townhome in Virginia that I wasn't living in. And I got tired of living out of a suitcase. And I was like, I wanted one house. And, you kind of want to get away from that structure, but that structure is really what you need, So like whenever I clock in and I'm getting ready to do work, be it training people with Camp Gladiator or be it finna do real estate, I know that I got to walk in. I got to go, okay, this is the first step. And then we're going to go chop wood and we go boom, boom, boom. And this is just having that same system and having the discipline to do it is huge. And I've recently found out that I think the physical demands of it was very helpful. Excuse me. Because I've started running again. And I usually don't really do long distance stuff. And I started running. I say long distance, I'm talking about like a mile, maybe 2, right? Like there's nowhere over 3 miles. So a couple miles tops. But the consistent physical challenge to push myself to get faster makes it easier whenever if I'm sitting here and I'm pounding out phone calls and I get through 10 and I got 10 voicemails. Like it's easier to go to 11 and 12 and 13 because I push myself every single time. And if you can take yourself to a very uncomfortable place mentally and then make it out of it, then anything that you run into is going to pale in comparison. So that's been the biggest thing, just knowing that I've been through something that's probably much more difficult than what I'm going through right now. And if I am willing to work at it, I'll come out of it ahead.
I appreciate that. Last thing for all of us, we hear a lot players say that practice is harder than games. Is that real?
Absolutely. I mean, think about it like this. In practice, it's scripted. It's set up. The situations are set up. Hey, out of all the analytics that people do, and even back in the gap, they do more now, obviously, but back in the gap, they did analytics where they would write down left hash, the kicker missed from the 35 last week. So then this week, we're going to put him on the exact same spot, left hash, 35-yard line. We're going to remind him that last week, and he already knows that he missed that kick. So purposely putting you in positions that are going to be slightly more difficult. That's one reason that practice is harder. The second reason, you've been going against these same guys all year, your whole career, right? Those defensive players, hate defense on like the first week of camp because they talk all that mess. And I'm like, bro, I'm running day one install. I've only ran 3 routes all day, right? Quit acting like you're Deion Sanders. I'm running a hitch, I'm running a slant, and I'm running a go. That's it, right? So they act like they're, big time, but whatever. I lost my track again. Dang.
No, hey, we were probably going to close with that, but I want to follow up with the question or the statement you said about it being scripted.
Yeah.
From a fan perspective, we look at all we have, especially this year. We have nothing but training camp.
Yeah.
I guess data to go off of. There's no preseason games. You hear of people having impactful camps.
Yeah.
And you get excited. We argue amongst the admins here, the podcast crew. From a fan perspective, I guess what should or could we take away from the reports that we hear? With you saying that scripted, should we actually take it for face value, or is there actually something that we can build off of? When you hear of a player having an impact in camp, is it a truthful impact or is it hollow?
No, it's generally going to be truthful.
Okay.
Especially when you start seeing the person's making plays and people keep talking about it. Because if you think about it, first round pick, top draft picks, those guys are going to get put in the most favorable situations, right? They need those guys to develop. Guys like me, not getting put in favorable situations. You have to take what you get, right? If they give you one play, you need to be on every single time. If they mess around and throw you the ball, you better catch it and find your way to the end zone, right? So whenever you see, maybe they're talking about Gandy Golden, maybe he's having a good camp, right? Or maybe they're talking about Antonio Gibson having a good camp. That's because the coaches are now handing them a little bit more. And they're like, well, okay, can you handle this? And then they get out there and they actually do something with it. And then they're like, all right, well, let me give you a little bit more, So people slowly get spoon-fed. People are having good camps. Now, once again, on the flip side, I'm a realist. It's scripted, okay? So just as much as I can put you in a difficult situation, I can put you in the most favorable situation in the world. I've seen that happen before where they do it with a quarterback. They're like, hey, this play is set up for cover 2. You're going to see cover 2. So when you come up, look at the safety, throw it to the honey hole. That's going to be your read or whatever, right? So then in their head, they're only expecting cover 2. And it's like he's having a good camp, but whenever he sees a different coverage, he can't adjust. So generally, yes, the person is having a good camp. Don't fight it.
Dude, appreciate that, man. That's really good insight that a lot of us aren't privy to. So Anthony, I want to thank you for joining us tonight, man. You're the first guest that we've had on the pod.
Right.
I think the discussion was great. You gave us a lot of insight into not only your career path, but a lot of the, the nuances that exist within the league itself. So before we close and let you head off, I want to give you a chance to, give your own plug, talk about your business dealings that you have going on.
Man,
and,
I
promote yourself,
that.
man. So appreciate you for coming on too, man.
Appreciate that. So, I'm a realtor. I'm a realtor here with Next Home Premier Choice here in Frisco, Texas. Sir, I'm licensed all over Texas, but primarily here in this North Texas area, helping people get into houses, man, buy houses, sell houses. I've had a lot of success with Redskins fans inadvertently, which is kind of crazy. Redskins fans in Dallas are very quiet. They don't say much. Cowboys fans in DC are very loud. Okay, so that's just how it goes down here. But I'm also a trainer with Camp Gladiator, and we're a leader in adult outdoor fitness. And when this whole COVID thing happened, we went virtual. So we use Zoom for the virtual workouts. So if y'all want to get in on this thing, you got opportunity to do so. What is it? I'm at 8:15 p.m. Central, Tuesdays and Thursdays. This upcoming camp, I can get y'all in for $9 if y'all want to give it a go. So
I got snacks that y'all can give out virtually because
you're going to be at your house.
I'm in shape, but my shape, unfortunately, is round.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. We'll take care of that. You'll be good. I promise you. I've made a couple people throw up. But no, not in. I made one person throw up in the virtual world, but that's it. You'll be okay.
Where can they find the camp at? Can you give the address or?
Yeah, I'll let's see here. I'll just drop it in the chat right here. I mean, you can go to campgladiator.com and look at it and just kind of see what it is. But there's a particular link that will at least connect you to me and let your boy get the credit, so they don't think I'm up here not doing anything.
Yeah, there's a large Facebook group associated with this podcast, so we'll dump it out there too for everybody.
Oh, that's love. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll send that to y'all. I'll email it to you. Okay. So y'all can check it out. But let me ask y'all a question. I'm gonna flip it on y'all.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right.
What would be your team name? What would be your number one team name? Ready?
Red Wolves.
Rough Riders.
Red
Washington
Wolves,
Freedom.
The Washington Freedom.
Washington Rough Riders.
Rough Riders. What you
Yeah,
got, Rodney?
Well, I started out as a Red Tails guy, and then Red Bull just kind of grew on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ellie hates it, man. But the Red Wolves, for me, it's probably the safest bet that you can have and keep the HTTR that I've seen thus far.
We should have a Red Foxes and have a garbage truck on the side of it, like.
They have
Big dummy.
Anthony, you
that's what you gotta play.
Run out the tunnel.
Anthony, what's your favorite name then? If we're gonna flip it back to you, the parting shot. What's your name that you would like to see the team choose?
I'm kind of like Steve. At first, I was like, at first Red Tails, I was like, but then I read about it and I was like, okay. And then Red Wolves was the same. I was like, I don't know. And then it grew on me. But after they've just released the whole just Washington, I think there's something player about just leaving it as just Washington.
Hey, I said that too. They've been on me. I said it before it happened. I said, man, when they told us, they said they're gonna make sure that we'll get rid of the name. I said, look, just stay Washington football team, man. I said exactly that before they did it. I like it. I'd rather keep it.
Kind of player like that W's kind of like think about it. You get your
It is.
burgundy flat brim. It's got the W on there in gold.
Yep.
Like they already didn't have to change the jerseys. They just changed the little nameplate.
I wish they get yellow numbers though. I don't like the yellow number on the helmet and white on the jersey. I wish.
Okay, I see the matching. Yeah,
right.
I could see that. I mean, I think that next year they'll actually have like the W logo or something. I've seen a couple of real cold ones. Like one was a W with the capital in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
W. Washington. That's it. That's just who you playing. Washington. That's
It does sound dope.
Yeah, I mean, if you gonna have Man U, Manchester United, and all these other things, why can't?
And don't try to say it's dope now. I've been saying it's dope all year. Y'all ain't like it.
Hey, you ain't getting no street cred, baby. You ain't no
We
street cred, man.
Hey, Anthony, who's the best artist to come out of Texas?
Best artist?
Yeah, musical artist come out of Texas.
Man,
Mike Jones. No, I was joking. I'm joking.
Man.
He's terrible.
Man, we got a lot of talented people. I mean, Erykah Badu.
Yeah.
She's from Dallas. Yeah. You know what I mean? Leon Bridges, he's from Fort Worth. Like, we got some fire. I mean, you got all the rappers down there. So it
Ain't
depends.
Beyonce from Texas?
What you say?
Ain't Beyonce from Texas?
Beyonce. Yeah, you could say all of Destiny's Child, but yes, Beyonce would be the baddest out of all of them.
Beyonce and them other ladies from Destiny's Child.
and the rest of them. Yes. Yeah. So I mean, we got a lot of action. So I don't know. It depends. You pick which way you want to go. We can go down there and fight.
UGK.
See? That's another one. I was listening to them the other day. I'll be almost playing that stuff at camp. I can't play it at camp though. I'm trying to find the editor.
I work at GM. They give me for playing it there.
See? They hating on you.
Hey man, we appreciate you, man. Thank you for taking the time.
No problem, man. Y'all have a good one. Stay out of trouble, and I'll email y'all that link. All right.
Let's do it.
Appreciate you, man.
Man.
Have a good night, brother.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Y'all. You have a good one.
You too. Out here.
Hell to the whatever.